Hello and welcome to another Best Junglers episode, this one for patch 25.13, and all the junglers that get buffed in this patch will be in this tier list. That isn't always the case, of course, but hey, these champions actually change the meta by their presence. So we will go over all the best junglers for the next couple of weeks. This is a 3-week patch for every single rank, as well as specifically for low and high, and if you need help applying these champions to your jungling to reach your peak rank, you absolutely must head to Virkayu.gg. Not only do I have a free jungle improvement resource, I also have a dedicated program with jungle video courses, jungle coaching, coaching classes, a jungle VOD library. We already have a lot of community VOD reviews and coaching classes for Season 15, sharing all the tips and tricks to reach new peaks in this season. All the fundamentals you need for right now are available in a ridiculous amount of hours for content tailored for your MMR so you can climb to reach your peak rank as fast as possible. So to hit your peak rank in Season 15 and jungle div every game you play, head to the link in the description below or to Virkayu.gg. Alright, S tier page is still Lee Sin, oh boy. The biannual Lee buffs, so it feels that way. He has actually been weak last year. It wasn't that he was really strong in any particular case. But yeah, this buff is holding true. There has been no nerfs. We have MSI coming up for esports enjoyers. For those of you who don't care, then you're just gonna see a lot of Lee Sin. I'm sure if he's too strong, which he will be, I don't know if he'll necessarily win games, but he will be individually strong, then we might see nerfs in the next patch in a couple of weeks. But for now, he is the king of the jungle. He does absolutely everything you need him to do. And then people say, well, that's a cop-out. What do you mean? Well, I mean, he farms well. He's got great ganking pressure. He can read and react to whatever play is necessary. He can get in your face and invade and kill you and execute you with his kick. He can take all objectives, really just without thinking. He can safeguard and protect people. His dives are exquisite. His disengage is exquisite. His engage is really great. And basically, he's just a 1v9 jungling machine. If he had a weakness, I would tell you it. He doesn't really have a weakness right now, except your skills. Or in my case, my skills. Boy, I cannot play this champion. But overall, he is just the whole entire package. Except for, if you need feedback on your website design, because, eyes. Next up is Echo, and I'm seeing a lot of people go into new accounts, Smurf accounts, or just, stop picking him up, have exquisite success. That's because they still haven't realized, I think, Riot Games, that those AP item changes put him in a stratosphere in terms of his 1v9 solo queue capability. We will see him most likely at MSI by maybe one person trying something out. Well, that's just a gut feeling. I don't think it necessarily will happen, but it has always happened in the past when Echo jungle is strong. Boom, they try him, doesn't work, back to the workshop. But when so many people who have not actually played Echo are now just popping off with insane win rates and KDAs, it tells you a lot about the state of a champion. The same thing with Lee Sin. When people play Jarvan and, know Jarvan like the inside of their own bodies, well, it's a little weird. Hopefully they don't know that. The champions are just inherently strong. It reduces the learning curve and, of course, the ability to lose games because of mistakes. And that's fine. Just means they're the best junglers in the game because they just do everything well. Kha'Zix is one of those, but, for me, Kha'Zix, I've done these tier lists now for not quite a decade, but, about 7 to 8 years. And Kha'Zix is just always here. And, of course, I played over 10 years ago, 11, 12 years ago. He has always been here. For me, in terms of mantle of what's the best AD assassin and solo queue to represent the last decade, I would pick Kha'Zix. Sure, there's been moments where there might be an individual champion better for a few patches, but I think you'd be pressed to find one where I've ranked higher than Kha'Zix at any point for any long period of time. It just hasn't happened. The nature of in and out assassin gameplay, being able to get in, assassinate, and get out, the ability to invade and kill, the need to farm and just stack up your CS and gold per minute without risking kills, or rather being killed, he really just has everything in his package to deal with whatever situation you might have. And jungling is very important that way. If you plan to do something and something happens with your laner's dying and inting, then a jungler shows up when you didn't expect him, how do you correct that? How do you then make an advantage out of that negative play for your team and for yourself? Kha'Zix has it in his kit to navigate anything like that. Like you're able to go in, but maybe not go out. Something like maybe Nocturne. Now, he goes in, he just survives because itemization gap. Ever since Strikebreaker, he has just been king of the shadows, but ain't no one coming close to the eternal consistency that he is bringing at the moment in this modern era. Well, this modern era. I know the 6-minute grubbies were definitely a hit on him, and what was it, 18 months ago, they removed lethal tempo from him, which people hated. They just realized, hey, Conqueror is just great, and even now, hey, Conqueror is just great, we're gonna stick with it. Yes, you can go Flying Pigeon. Yes, you can build all squishy. And I know people always come into chats just like with AP Nuno, wow, look at the damage I did. Yes, you won one game. Maybe you won 10 to 20 games. But over large sample sizes, why would you go that when you can be blown up and killed if you don't execute or get behind when you can just play methodically, execute with precision, and still kill those people while literally never dying yourself with proper bruiser HP-based itemization. The same is applied to Nunu and Willem for the exact same reasons. Yeah, look, I can one-shot with AP. Alright, but you can die 12 times. Or you can die 2 times, or never die, and because you live longer, do just as much or more damage, while also being useful for your team in terms of any sort of team fighting or macro. The same concepts apply here in terms of builds. I was gonna say, yeah, I get it might not always be the most exciting, but then you could try different champions, but Jarvan isn't one of those. The builds here are also very static, you know, Sundered Sky Eclipses, Black Cleavers, Derek's Gauges, maybe a Death Dance, go full tank afterwards. He's less effective in terms of the potency of 1v1 map scaling, getting around the map, and really being that big fisty beast like Lee Sin, but he does make up for it by having way better utility for his team. That's just obvious attack speed buff on the E plus the Creator, no one's questioning that. So yeah, Jarvan. And then Kayn, we have Kayn. Yes, people are going to complain, but Kayn is weak. He struggles. My friends, things like Viego and Kayn have such high levels of OTP presence in high elo, you cannot possibly claim that the champion is unable to allow you to climb to your peak rank. He is still great in every single rank there is, blue and red. Now, when you have suboptimal builds, maybe that can affect you. When you're not doing things necessarily correctly jungling-wise, that can affect you. So if you trust your Kayn mechanics and you trust your build, and you're having good success within the game, then don't look to Kayn as the issue if you're not climbing with him right now. Look to your macro, look to your team fighting. Are you going too deep with Shadow Assassin? Are you selecting the wrong target? Are you playing red Kayn Rast like, you know, the blue Kayn, when you should actually think, maybe I am a bit more of an engage tool here, or maybe I'm an appeal tool. Maybe I just need to disrupt, thrive, dive, heal, and, you know, disrupt, I guess. Look beyond Kayn if you're struggling to climb with him, because truly, he is still good. Under the radar good, not OP Giga good where he needs buffs and nerves, but just good old S-tier grade jungle meat. Xin Zhao does like to stab that meat though. Now, I have been putting him and promoting him for a very long time, over a year. I don't think he needed the buffs, which I've said 1,000 times, but he has the buffs. He exists. And you will see him a lot in high elo solo queue because pressure, and tempo. He gets going, he keeps going, he wins game, he snowballs, and, my friends, he is good into Nidalee and Kindred, which is why his stats now back it up, saying, hey, he's an S+ tier jungler in Emerald and above, not just in high MMR. Because a lot of the problems with Nidalee and Kindred, which we'll get to, you know, they are not good for Hecarim, so, you know, ban Kindred. But Xin Zhao, with his W and his long-range engage and ability to now stick to a target with the 3 knockup hit, that's what you really want. Long-range gap close, long-range poke, a disengage ultimate, as well as the ability to chain CC. He has the tools necessary to suppress those kinds of champions. Much like Elise, who people don't really play or rate, I do, so she's here. High pressure just like Xin Zhao, get your game done, closed by 2025. I don't think we need to play without food at all. This does reward those junglers who understand tracking, pressure, PvP, and being good mechanically. Now you might say, well, these champions aren't necessarily that difficult. Sure, but you still need to be able to execute well on them. If you don't know the limits and you can't reliably hit your skill shots, you know, Xin Zhao W or Elise Cocoon, you're not really maximizing the kit anyway. But yeah, Elise, super strong, good. And onto the A tier page, Talon is still here, even though he is the abomination we know, his statistics are not the abomination we've seen. That means Talon is who we thought he was. A highly efficient roaming assassin that you can do nothing to stop when he wants to dive your bot lane unless you're there to try and do something about it, but most likely you're counter jungling him or winning somewhere else because imagine trying to chase this guy across the map. You can't. Do not play his game. Play your own game, figure out the gaps where you can suppress him and take stuff away, because if you make the wrong move and he isn't ganking, he will get your camps and get up very quickly, stifle you and dive the lane you're not at, and now you're a little bit behind, and then you lose. Unless maybe you're playing Hecarim, which means you can technically rotate because you do have the movement speed, but you kind of want to save that for the ganks. Don't always rush in with your E, rush with your ultimate, stack those abilities properly, be patient with them, and you'll have a lot of fun. Make sure you are banning Kindred, good recommendation for life anyway, bit of a not so good matchup. Jarvan can also be kind of annoying, so play that according to your MMR. But the big news out of the Rohirrim is to build Spear of Shojin. It has now overtaken Eclipse as the most build first item, and its win rate is supreme, and now we've applied it to some of the coaching in the private Virkayu GG Discord, and people are having huge success actually swapping over. The HP is huge, you do lose a little bit of that upfront haste and the clearing ability, but when you finish it, oh boy, is it horsing time. Now, Nidalee isn't really about that life, and more about executing. I don't know why she got a buff again. I think it's a little bit silly to buff her 2 patches in a row. She was fine in high elo. You wanted to give her a bit of a quality of life buff, cool. But now this extra spear thing, unnecessary. It has made her strong for every single rank. She's still better on high MMR. You still need to have good hands to execute. But remember, for her, it's about map flow. Just like Graves, using your over-the-wall sneakiness to counter jungle lethally, to set traps, to make picks, to apply consistent pressure. The enemy jungler needs to feel like you are in their soul. If you are playing in Nidalee passively where I don't really care that you're in the game, wrong. I need to be thinking you're going to be in my ass every single decision I make, that you're going to rotate in every single moment, and if I make a mistake, you're going to punish me. If you can embody this as Nidalee, you will have the most success, and especially now that you got 25% bonus damage onto your max range Q. Kindred's another one that I've put in and out of the tier list and has had good matchups and honestly has been solid this season. But because Nidalee and the Graves meta, even though the jungle does suit them, the matchups haven't always been the best. So not only is it about the champion, it's also about who you're facing, even if the jungle itself is good for you. Kindred, on the other hand, had a bit of a problem just navigating the matchups and also finding a difficulty in maximizing experience in econ and then becoming useful in games where you don't necessarily get far ahead. Good Kindred had none of those issues, right? Obviously, you're executing, you're climbing to high elo, and you're great. But it's not like the champion was raw powerful like they have been in the past. Now though, with this ultimate buff, 20 seconds off that max rank 1, you're gonna be so much more useful, so much more often. Think about how many times you're gonna use your ult between level 6 and level 11. Now you can maybe get 3 casts in versus 2 maybe, and you can be a bit more willing to use it to save teammates, to win fights and skirmishes over dragons and grubs and maybe even a herald. Do not underestimate the ability of having such a game-changing ultimate up even one more time in a game with this many objectives. It's massive, and of course, that's on top of everything Kindred has always done. Pantheon is now going to suffer at the hands of the matchups, and his win rate isn't looking too good, but I'm keeping him in here because the champion is an abomination. There's no change in this champion's PvP nature, in his global threat, in his executes, in his scaling, and in his insane stun all-in pick engage playstyle. But everything last patch is true this patch. Just be wary of matchups, and obviously, don't get too compromised. If you face someone you hate, no matter who you play, and the matchup is difficult for you, again, no matter who you play, just practice on that avoidance pathing and applying pressure elsewhere, track them, give up certain corners of the map just to make sure you're getting your own later on. And the same thing can be said for Virkayu. There are obviously better champions stat-wise, and yet you could just pick up and play. But let's be real. This champion is the epitome of solo queue god takeover. You just need to be a little bit smart about your itemization and when you're gonna fight and how you're gonna fight. But one fight, one reset, one pentakill, you're gonna win. It really does reward the more patient junglers. You're noticing this a lot about a lot of these champions. Be patient, read and react, give up things you need to give up, fight the fights you can fight, but don't overcommit and be too aggressive and die 12 to 15 times. Obviously, your champion, if it's weaker earlier on, it's been nerfed like Virkayu has, yeah, you're not going to win the game anymore just by outstatting people. That means you just need to think a bit, but he will deliver high elo or any rank you want with the right build and execution, I guarantee it. Briar, on the other hand, yes, I don't necessarily recommend it for Diamond Plus. Can you? Of course. Can you get to high elo? Of course. There are many people who have done it. I just don't think there's gonna be a lot of upside to picking her over anything else. However, for the general population to get to Diamond, hell yeah. The quality of life buffs have been fantastic. I had a little bit of a bootcamp coaching session yesterday with an OTP, and he was like, whoa, I love this. No canceled orders later on, less lockout time on that E. We are looking a lot more fluid, less clunky. Those guaranteed kills that you're meant to get, those guaranteed orders that you're meant to get, these all add up over time and allow you to actually execute in the game without worrying if it's going to hit or not. Specifically on those fast-moving champions. I mean, obviously there's a lot on this list in terms of mobility. You don't want to have your autos canceled as well. Titanic helps you catch up and keep up on farm. The biggest thing we practiced yesterday was don't feel like you need to overcommit for ganks. Be a bit more patient, play it smart, get your Titanic, get your Tiamat, well, in the other order, and then just look for the right pressure points to execute your ganks. But a win rate buff from this quality of life shift is really big for something like this, especially already a couple days into the patch. And finally, Fiddlesticks, an extra buff 5% AP on his sucky suck, which is good across the board because he was fine anyway. He was always OTP fine anyway. He's definitely struggled a lot more in the last year or two than he did in the first couple of years. But my friends, pick Fiddle, learn Fiddle, master Fiddle, commit to the life of suck because it's not something you really pick up and play every now and then. You're really good at OTP, get the feel of the uniqueness, but when you do, definitely a best jungler. And then we have the low elo page. Nothing strange or weird about this one, I think. Nocturne, Warwick, obviously Briar's gone up here. The only thing is, hey, look, Ramu's mega changes really did not do a good job at that at all, but they give him a small, nice little buff this patch and in low elo. That has made him an absolute monster. And of course, when you've got Warwick, Nocturne, Briar, Master Yi, guess who's gonna be eating good? Rammus. And obviously we have the Amumu, the Kayn, and the Volibear rounding this out. But yeah, great selection of champions here. Obviously there's a few others you can still go, like the Lilias and Dianas, but they're falling off a little bit. These ones really just give me very little downside other than your own mistakes. And that's what you want in silver to get to gold. That's what you want in bronze. You don't want the champion itself to be a liability. You want to say, okay, look, I messed up on the champion. If I didn't, I would have won the game. So all the responsibility is on you because I understand the lanies you're getting. I get it. But then you'd think, well, you know, it's gonna get better when I'm in high elo, and then we look at the high elo list and it doesn't always get better. You still need to ping their faces, ping where the jungler is, ping where their lunch is. They're not paying attention to anything, so you've really got to send the message. But Lee Sin, Kindred, Pantheon, Echo, Nidalee, Kha'Zix, and Jarvan, all here, all good, all supreme. And I reluctantly put the Zed in this one. I don't necessarily agree that he's remotely as good as people think, but he's got a high play rate. And if you can execute on an OTP level, you will have victory. You will succeed. But most people don't understand the limits of Zed. They don't know what to do with such a fast clear. They don't know how to execute the combos properly. And as such, everything that makes him good in the jungle is wasted. That's why his win rate is ass. But if he's objectively good, it is really coming with the condition of, hey, can you pilot and understand the limits of this champion? And can you execute? My suggestion, just play Talon. And you'll have a better time. Obviously, I would suggest playing anything else on this list as you see it. But in high elo, it's really about your skills on your champion. Unless, of course, you are supremely diverse and play all of them. However, you know, all your Rengar guys and everything like that, keep playing your champions, you're good. If you want to learn one of those OTPs guys and you're not on high elo, you can too reach it. Just chase a level of mastery and commit to the cause of your champion, and then commit to early game jungling and becoming damn good at that by clicking the video on your screen now.